Hi everybody, this is the welcome video to our class. So this is statistics, and I'll go over a little bit about the basics of the class, but before we get into the nitty-gritty, I just sort of want to first introduce myself. I'm Kevin Carlson. I'm your professor for this class. You can look under the Canvas modules and you can see how you can contact me. Obviously, a great way would be via email is a great way to contact me. Again, there's a lot more information about that on Canvas. But before we get into the course itself, I just sort of want to say that you might be the exception, but a lot of people who come into this class are very nervous. They're anxious. They feel like they aren't good at math. They've avoided taking math. Maybe you've done that. Maybe you've avoided taking this course until the last minute because they just simply feel anxious or don't feel capable at doing math. And what I'm going to tell you is, one, that's a common feeling. And for two, and hopefully we'll deal with this when we talk throughout the semester, is that's not really you. You have listened essentially to other people who have told you this. Maybe it's teachers, maybe it's other people, and then you started believing this yourself. So I'll just sort of maybe say my own example, and some of this will be talked about in terms of lecture number 2, intro to the stats. I go into a little bit about why perhaps some people give us those messages that we're not good at math. Or just not good at school in general, but math is a case where it seems to be especially prevalent and more extreme. So I grew up as a poor kid. I grew up all the time on food stamps, sometimes on welfare, all the time in government housing. When we got lucky, we lived in a pretty crappy place until we got government housing. And I still remember my high school days, and I felt like I couldn't do math. And I avoided math, and in high school I think I took the bare minimum amount of math that you could get away with while still graduating high school. And then when I went to a community college, so I went to a community college also, I remember trying to avoid math also, and not feeling really good about math, and I didn't have really that great of teachers early on either in my college career. And so, I never felt good at doing math until I went to grad school. And it wasn't until I took actually probably 3 statistics classes where I felt pretty good about statistics. I had a good professor who was able to sort of explain things well. And so from my own personal experience and also just knowing the academic research out there, that feeling of not being capable, not knowing math, being anxious about it, it's not you. These are messages from outside. If you have an intact brain, and you do, if you're able to click on the computer and find things on the computer, you have an intact brain. So if you have an intact brain, you can learn things. So you can always learn math. You can always understand these things. So a big thing in this course is not listening to those negative messages, realizing those negative messages are coming from somewhere else. It's not about you. They're coming from outside of you. And the bad thing is they were probably there for quite a while now. So they've probably been there for 10 years or more. So we may have forgotten that those things are from the outside. They're not us. And what I'll say is you want to build your confidence in this class. So over time, I want you to be less anxious about math, less anxious about statistics, and to build some confidence. And it may not be right away. That's fine. We have to undo all of those years of those negative messages. So I don't expect that would happen in the first week or second week, but it will happen over time. And I'll just give you an example from this class when we were in person last spring. I had a student, and there was an optional review session. So this is in person, and there was optional review session, and maybe 10% of people showed up, or maybe 15, 20% of people showed up from the class. And so I was able to sort of work more individually with people. And I remember one student who, at the start of the review session, and the first problem was just broke down crying. I don't know what's going on. I can't understand this. I won't be able to pass this class. It's really going to be a horrible experience. And, the first thing I did is just to sort of deal with the emotions and get the emotions down, because when you're so emotional, it's hard to think. And I said, well, just, deal with this. And then I took her through some of the steps of doing the problem. And so we did a problem or two, and then she had stopped crying. She was kind of feeling a little bit better, but, you can still kind of feel like she was a little bit uncertain yet. And then by the end of the session, which was probably about 30 to 40 minutes, she was smiling. She was feeling good. And then we had this is for the first exam. So we had the first exam. She came in and she took it, and I talked to her, see how she was doing. She was nervous, but she did the exam and she passed. She got a C. And I thought, oh, this is good. And then in our class, we're actually going to have makeup exams, and I'll get into why we do that maybe a little bit later. So there was a makeup exam, and I thought, well, there's no way she's coming to the makeup exam. She passed. She got a C. This is just too emotional for her. She's just too anxious. She probably won't come for the makeup. The C is probably good enough in her mind, and she doesn't want to deal with those emotions probably. The makeup exam came, and I was like, wow, she's going to take it. And she got an A. So, I can't necessarily guarantee such a dramatic change for everybody, but that just sort of illustrates what we want to do in this class. Is you might feel very anxious, and you might feel very nervous, and you are emotional about it, and you think, oh my gosh, I'm frustrated because I can't understand this. One thing I'll say is, when you first learn something new, you're not going to understand it right away anyway. It's just that math, I think, oftentimes has this thing that people want to give up right away. I can't understand it. This is it. I'm not going to try. So when you first hear something, you're not going to know it right away. We're going to do different ways of practicing the stuff that you need to know, so that over time, with more practice, you'll know it. So I'll just sort of say right away is that don't expect to know things right away, because that's not how we learn. We'll have to think a little bit more about it. You have to practice it through homeworks. You practice it in labs. You practice it by studying for the exam. So through these practices, you're going to learn the stuff. And so know if you try, know if you do the practices, and think you're going to be able to pass the class. And I hope that you have some similar experience as this student did, from being nervous, crying, thinking they can't do it, to, okay, I can kind of do it, I kind of understand it, I'm at a C level at least. But then I hope after you feel like, okay, I can do the C stuff, that you can get to the B's, you can get to the A's. So it just takes a little bit of time. So statistics and math are like a foreign language in some ways. So you won't understand it right away, but through practice you will. And I hope that you get rid of the anxiety, the negative messages that you have from other people that are in your brain. Get rid of those things and become more confident. And the confidence will come slowly. So the confidence will first be, oh, I kind of understand it. I can get a C. To hopefully you can go to the confidence of, oh, I'm going to get a B, I'm going to get an A. So I just wanted to say that right away. So you're not alone if you think you're nervous and anxious and not sure you're going to pass this class, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to hate this class. You're not alone in thinking that. But I hope that this class is sort of the turning point in terms of your thinking about your math ability. You can do it. You can be confident with this. And in the second lecture, the Introduction to Stats lecture, the second lecture you'll be watching, I'll get into a little bit about the benefits of understanding this stuff. So if you can do statistics, there's some great benefits to it. Also, I'll tell you a little bit more of my perspective about why some people give you those negative messages. So I'll leave it for that lecture. But, whenever you're feeling anxious, just realize it's not you, it's from the outside. Try to get that anxiety down. And then just try to deal with the problems. And just know that you're not going to know everything right away. It's just going to take a little bit of time with more practice. And that will help you a lot. And that's actually, in essence, how they treat anxiety disorders is that. Because the anxiety can become the thing. So if you're anxious, that becomes the thing, and it saps your energy, it saps your focus. You won't be able to think. So I would really highly recommend that you try to get that anxiety down and have a more positive outlook. And know that you can learn this stuff. I've taught this for quite a while now, and I've had every semester I have a lot of students who come in and think they can't do it and then feel confident by the end of it. And so if you are on Canvas and doing the work, I am 100% sure you're going to have that type of transformation also. So let me go ahead and go through some of the nitty-gritty of the course so you kind of understand what's going on with the course. And so here's our course, and the home pages are the modules. We call it module. Sorry about that. So just a few things here. If you're not used to Canvas, you can see here that we have some homework. So don't worry so much, but homework number 1, that's simply I want you to introduce yourself. So that's due on the 7th, so on Thursday. That's weird. Give me a second. Okay, sorry about that. I kind of panicked. I had the wrong month up, that's why. So the homework is due the 4th of February. And so that's just introducing yourself. So if you open up that homework, it will say several questions. I want you to introduce yourself. So I just want to get you to know you a little bit better, and also it shows you that you're in a class. So this class is in high demand. I don't know if you know that. They opened up another section, so it's changed a little bit, but this class was essentially closed at least by 9 a.m. The day of the first day of registration for this class. And then, at least by several days, there was a wait list. The wait list maxed out at 20. So this is a very high demand class. And so I want to know that you're in the class. So do this homework by Thursday, and that will tell me that you're in the class. And if there's people who aren't in the class, I want to let in the people who are on the wait list, because I don't want them to lose out on this course if they're able to take it. And then we have one more homework and labs that are due on Sunday. And so those are obviously explained in the class material. But if you're new to Canvas, if you're on the home page, you should be able to see the homework for the week. And in general, all the new stuff will be loaded by Monday morning of the week. And so you'll be able to sort of see within the week what we're going to be doing. And so then we have our modules. I recommend here, I know that sometimes I've seen some students, they want to do stuff by files. They try to find files or things like that. I think that's going to be a more messy way of doing Canvas. So homepage are the modules. Here's the student toolkit. So this will help you with technology, but also campus resources. If you click this will give you an updated list of things that you can use, both in terms of technology, but also just in general, resources that the campus has, the college has for you to help you out. Normally we have that in the syllabus, but since we are electronic, it is here live and it's updated right here. So if you click this, you'll see that it'll take you to the page and it will give you all of the, I'm in the student view, this is why it looks a little bit weird, but it will give you all the stuff that you need to do or need to have for technology, and also gives you resources. So anything that can help you support yourself through your time in Chafee, you can find out here. That's here. I don't know if you know how to do this, but you can simply also collapse the module so it's not so busy when you're looking at it. And then welcome to class. So communication plan, that's what I was sort of referring to earlier. That's ways that we'll contact each other and how you can talk with other students in the class. Here's the syllabus. Make sure you look through the syllabus carefully. I'm going to go over some of it, but I'm not going to go through all the details. So make sure you read the syllabus. I posted this video here. So if you're watching this video, you found that part of the module. And again, you can close these things. So I can close that and make it a little bit simpler to look if I want to. And then here's everything for the first week of class. So for all of our videos that are in class, I also have YouTube links. So it might be a little bit more complicated to do that, but that's for people who want the captioning. So if you want captioning on the videos, this is the way to do it. And there'll be links for each video for each week in a document like this, and it'll be on the top of the module. So you see here, this is the first homework, and so you want to definitely introduce yourself in that homework. And then the stuff for each week will be underneath each week's module, will be like this. And you can see if you have a lot of weeks open, it will look a little bit messy, so you can always collapse it and make it look a little bit better. And so this week is actually relatively straightforward, like what will be like for most weeks. So I talked about the YouTube links, I talked about the homework that you're supposed to do to introduce yourself by Thursday. And then we get into the actual lectures, the content of the class. And so our first topic is frequency distributions. So in this case, we have a video. So you're going to be watching the video of the lecture. And that video is going to sort of tell you how to do the first lab. So the video will explain the lab. But also, if you go here, if you click onto the lab, you can see it has the due date here. If you click here, the labs will look like this. So a lot of the labs will have, it's locked. Sorry about this. It's locked until you actually can open this. Yeah, sorry about this, the pausing a little bit here. So you can't see it in your view yet because the 14 weeks hasn't started for us. That starts tomorrow. But your view looks much like this. So this is my view, and it looks just like your view, so it doesn't really matter that I'm in my view. And so if I go down here, and I go into the lab, this is what I want to show you, and this is why I can't do it in your view, because the lab's not open officially until the 14 week starts tomorrow. And so you open it up, and most labs will have a video, so it's embedded in there. So this video will explain the lab. So watch this video. You see it's a 6-minute video. It's not that long. So it will explain the lab. And then the labs will be given to you in a Word document. So right here, make sure you click that and you download the Word document. You can type directly into the Word document for the lab, and then you can upload it here. So you download the Word document. And then when you're ready to submit it, you can submit it also on the same page. So you can type your labs directly into the Word document. That's a good way of doing it. And so let me go back to my modules. So that's the way that labs are set up. So watch the video for the lab, download the Word document, fill out the Word document, and upload that Word document into this part right here in terms of the assignment. For all homeworks and all labs, I see I've moved myself because I was saving something when I was on a pause. When you're doing labs and homeworks, you should check your answers. And so we'll talk about this when we talk about the syllabus, but basically for all the homeworks and for all the labs, you're going to get full points, which is 5 points for each one, if you give it a good try. So the labs are really important because it will help you study eventually for the final exam. And then the homeworks are really important because those are helping you study for all of the exams. So for every single exam, we have 4 non-cumulative exams. We have 4 units during the semester. The homeworks are a big guide for the exams. So it's really important that you do these things on your own and use them as learning experiences. So I'm not going to grade it. I'm not going to grade it and say, okay, you got this thing wrong, you got that thing wrong, and I'm not going to take points off. I'm going to give you full points if you did everything that you're supposed to do, tried it. Even if your answers are not right, that's fine. You gave it a try. You tried to learn. So it's your responsibility to look at the keys. So some keys are Word documents. So here there's a Word document for the key for the first lab. So double check that key after you're done and see if you got the answers right. If you didn't get the answers right, try to make sure you understand what is the right answer and why. If you're not sure about why such answer is wrong, what you did is wrong, you're not sure what the right answer is and how to go about that, come to our weekly sessions. We have weekly check-in sessions. Come to those sessions and we can talk about it. So again, it's your responsibility to double check your homeworks and your labs. 5 points does not mean you got it all right. 5 points just means you gave it a good try. You tried to learn. So check these keys. In this case, for this week, the keys are Word documents. Sometimes the keys are videos. So the keys will be there. Sometimes they're Word documents, sometimes they're videos. And then our second topic for this week is Intro to Statistics, which is basically introduction to a bunch of terms related to statistics. Why is intro second? Because I wanted to do something first with you that's a little bit more hands-on and maybe makes it a little bit easier, gives you a little bit more confidence before we get into the terminology. And the terminology is a big thing in statistics, and part of it is when I talked about that anxiety before, some of the anxiety comes up because of terms that seem weird. Or especially formulas. So just know that. So part of the game, if you will, is understanding those terms and understanding formulas and not panicking about them. If you don't understand the formula right away, that's fine. I mean, the formula probably looks like alien language to you. Give it a little bit. We'll talk about what the formula means, and we'll do it, and we'll practice it. So you will understand it over time. So here's our second topic, Intro to Statistics. We have a video. So here's the video lecture. And in this case, there's also a PowerPoint. So the PowerPoint that will help you take notes. Why is there not a PowerPoint for lecture one? There's really not a lot of notes. It's more about doing things and looking at things. So for the lectures beyond the first lecture, there will be a PowerPoint that will help you take notes. So you can download that. You can study off of that. That would be fantastic. So maybe you might want to download this and have that open while you watch the video. So again, you can watch the videos on YouTube if you want captioning, but if you click the video here, you'll see that the video is just embedded. So you can watch it directly on Canvas if you want to. So that's a little bit easier probably. But if you want captioning, use the YouTube links that are given. And so after you watch the lecture, there is a homework. So just like the lab number one, homework number 2 is due on Sunday. It's worth 5 points. And again, the homework is such that you get all points. If you gave it a good try, you tried to learn. But double check your homework with the key. So there's a Word document key here to make sure that you were on the right track and that your reasoning was on the right track. And so essentially that's what we're going to have each week. Each week we're going to have some topics. There's going to be video lectures and a PowerPoint of the lecture if you want to take notes on the PowerPoint. And then we're going to have some homeworks and labs. The homework is usually just a Word document. So when you open up the homeworks, it will typically be a Word document. So the Word document will explain the homework. This is something that you'll need to do the homework. So download these 2 things, and then once you complete it, you can upload it here. It doesn't show the upload right now because, for one, I'm not a student, and for 2, our course is not open until tomorrow, or officially in about 7 hours or so. It will open once we get past midnight. And so that's basically it. So just make sure that you follow the videos. Watch the videos, and the videos are nice because if you understand it and you think, oh, go faster, you can actually speed up the videos. I think you can go to 1.5 speed on the direct links here. I think you can go up to 1.5 speed. So you can go faster if you want. If you're not quite catching things, you can rewatch things, you can slow it down. So in some ways, the videos are kind of nice because people understand things at different rates in this class. So take advantage of that. And if you don't understand things right away, that's okay. Go back and watch it and understand it after that. So the final thing I want to do from just showing you what's on Canvas. And again, remember, you can collapse it. So when you are finished with this, you can kind of just collapse that. You don't have to look at that. So when some new stuff comes, you'll see the new stuff. So it's nice and trim. So let's talk about the syllabus real quickly. So we went through some of the mechanics of Canvas. So we're in a 14-week class. So this is the first time I've taught 14-week, but I've taught 18 weeks many times. And I taught summer statistics too, which is half the time of the semester, so it goes twice as fast. This is kind of in the middle. So we're kind of at 1.5 speed. So we have to go at about 1.5, the normal speed of a normal semester, but I think things are very workable. My best advice in terms of dealing with just class in general, but also at the 1.5 speed, is to get things done early. As much as you can, Monday, get on Canvas and start watching your videos. Start doing the homework, start doing the labs. It'd be fantastic if you're finished by Thursday or so, finish it early. You don't have to rush. Where people get into problems is they do things at the last minute. And I can oftentimes see that. I can see when they come on, I can see when they do the assignments. If I see people are watching videos on Sunday, they're scrambling to get the homeworks done on Sunday, they're scrambling to get the labs done on Sunday, that's not a good recipe. You're not going to learn. Especially in this class. Remember, we talked about how a lot of people come in this class feeling anxious and uncertain about themselves. The worst thing to do in that situation is to do things at the last minute. If you do things at the last minute, you're going to feel panicked, you're going to feel anxious, you're not going to learn. So prime advice here is do things early, get it done early, do things with a relaxed mind, you're going to learn more. So there's my email. Just between us, if you call this number, I have absolutely no idea what happens to it. I was forced to put that number on there. I don't have an office. I don't have a physical office. I'm not sure what that number is, but they told me to put that number on there. So I have never received any voicemails from that number. I'm not sure whether it's people aren't calling it or whether it's working or not. I am just being very frank with you. So email is probably the really great way to talk to me, or you can come to the weekly check-in sessions. So each week we're going to have a check-in session. It's optional. So each Wednesday at 4:30 on Zoom, there's the link there. Come join and meet me, talk with me, ask any questions that you have. You can listen to other students' questions. So oftentimes people come to these things and they say, oh, I don't really have any questions, but I want to hear other people's questions because it helps me understand it better. So come and listen to other people's questions, or just come and meet other students in the class. So basically, I'll give you 1 extra credit point for every session you attend. So if you come to all sessions during the semester, you're going to get 14 total extra credit points. So that will give you almost a grade and a half boost on an exam, which could be very useful. I have not kept data per se, but I'll say that quite a few people who haven't passed, who've gotten the D's, probably quite a few people who've gotten D's, probably were pretty close to 14 points from a C. And so, this could make a difference. So please come. If you can't make this time, just email me and let me know you can't make it, and we'll think of some alternatives. But if you can't make this time, this is the time to come. And this is a time that you can learn from other people and from me. And in general, we'll have these sessions until they end. And so if I'm sitting there and nobody's there, I'll wait for 5 minutes. But if nobody shows up, I'll leave at 5 minutes. But if people come and they have a lot of questions, I'll stay for an hour or two, even if it takes that long. Probably doesn't take that long, but I'll stay as long as it takes to answer your questions and to get to know you. So that starts this week. So we'll have our first session 4:30 p.m. on the 3rd, February 3rd. And we'll have it every Wednesday during these 14 weeks of class. So we just talked about Canvas. Here's your textbook. I recommend that you get a cheap version. So if you find a very cheap version online, I would go for that. You can get a used version if you want. And probably, within these 8 years that it's been out, there's probably a substantial amount of used books that you can get out there, hopefully for relatively cheap. So make sure you check your email and check your Canvas announcements. So we're an online class. And so a lot of communication will be through emails, and it will be through your Chafee email and also on Canvas. So each week I'll have some announcement, if not several announcements about the class that will be very important. So make sure you check your Canvas announcements. And hopefully your Chafee email is linked to your Canvas announcements. If it's not, make sure it's linked. I'm sure it's in the settings there. If you email me, please email me from your Chafee account. The reason for that is there's federal laws in terms of saying things. And so if you ask me something about an email that's more personal, and I respond to it, and it's not your Chafee account, and it turns out to be your parents or your wife or somebody else trying to snoop about what you're doing in class, I would be breaking federal law. And so email me from your Chafee account. That is safe, or from Canvas. But quite frankly, the Canvas thing is a little bit more yucky in terms of the interface. I will obviously respond to Canvas emails, but sometimes the Chafee emails are kind of nicer in terms of looking better, both for you and for I. So do check that, and do email me from your Chafee account. The thing is, with like a Gmail and things like that, we don't know who it is. So it could be somebody else trying to snoop on you. If you give your password for your Chafee account to your parents or to your spouse or something like that, that's your problem. that's your choice. And so if they're snooping via your Chafee email, you've done it. But anybody could set up a Gmail or any other email with your name on it and pretend they're you. So that's why we want the Chafee email. You can read all of this stuff. So this just tells you what we're going to be learning. Some of this might not make sense now because some of it are terms, but this is the stuff we're learning in class. Here's important dates. Do look at these dates. I hope that you will not drop. And by the way, this is why the first homework is due on Thursday, because the last day to add is Friday. So if there's people on the wait list who want to get in, I want to give them a chance to come in. So obviously this is an online class, so all your homework and assignments and exams are all done on Canvas. And do note there's a late penalty. In general, I'm gonna try to cut off the due dates and not accept late submissions in general, because I feel like that gets you in a bad rut. If you keep on being late, that's not great. So this is just in cases where I open things up longer, which I'm going to try to avoid because I don't want it to cascade. If you're always late, it's going to be an issue. So there's a lot of little assignments on this course. So we already looked through the first week. So there's already some little things there. We have a lab, and we have essentially one homework. The first homework is just introducing yourself. So we have a lab and homework. So there's lots of little things, and that's meant to help you learn things and get practice. Remember, I said that you're not going to understand this stuff right away. So each of the labs and the homeworks help you understand things a little bit better by practicing. And so make sure that you do that and keep on track. If you get behind, it's going to really affect you. And so I have seen that. I've taught this class often, and I've seen that happen. I've seen it. Maybe people say, oh, it's just 5 points. It's not that big. I can't do it right now. I'm too busy. But they do. Then what happens is they keep on doing that. And in the end, by the time when it gets to the exam, they're not ready. They're scrambling. They're panicked. They don't do well in that case. So just like I said earlier, get things done early, start things early in the week, get them done early in the week, and that's actually the best way of doing it. It's a more relaxed way of doing it. Also, I've kind of astonished because whenever, the number of times there'll be people who maybe get a C, think they want a B, or they get a D, and they really want to pass the course. And often I look at their assignments and what they've done, and very often I find people who wanted to B but got a C, or need to pass but couldn't pass. Often that was the case because they didn't do the homeworks. If they would have done the 4 missing homeworks, they would have got to the next level. So I don't want you sort of grubbing for points, but those points do matter too. So both in terms of your learning, practicing things, being more relaxed about this course, it's important to keep on track with these things. But also these points can add up, and I've seen them make a difference. Do note this. Don't assume, whoops, I don't know if I can highlight here yet. Don't assume that the time is 1 minute before midnight. So double check the time of the due date. Don't assume 1 minute before midnight. That's not a good assumption. And so throughout the semester, we're going to have, like I said, these homework assignments. I've already said that you'll get 5 points if you give it a good try. So it's for your learning, and it's for practicing and understanding the material, and also it's to help you practice for those things that will be on the exams. And for homeworks, except for the first one, the first homework will be a Word document that you can actually type in. But after that, pretty much homeworks are things you're writing stuff. You're writing formulas, you're calculating things. And so in cases like that, where you're writing stuff down, go ahead and write it down. Get a piece of paper and write it down, and then take a photograph of your answers and upload those photos as your submission to the homework. And so that will be, you'll be given credit for that. And so again, because sometimes I have people who type out on Microsoft Word the homework, and I think maybe it's more difficult because you're typing formulas. It's kind of difficult to do. If you can do that, it's great, but you can just do it, write it out, take a photo. All I'll ask is try to have the photo size, the resolution be a bit smaller, not really huge, but also I need to see it. So when you submit it, you should be able to open it up and see how it looks. So just make sure I can see it, but don't have it to be huge size because we don't need to take up a lot of storage space for this. And again, for homeworks, the keys will be there. You'll get 5 points for trying. So if you got 5 points, it doesn't mean you got everything right. It just means you gave it a good try. So double check the key and understand the key. And if you don't understand it, come to our Wednesday sessions and we'll talk about it. And as you saw on Canvas, I'll open this again. I already have the keys there. So when I post this stuff, the keys are there. So it's not like you have to wait for a week to find out the answer. So pretty much if you want, the second that you upload your first lab, because again the points are there for just doing it, not right or wrong. So upload it to the lab and then look at the key. So when it's fresh in your mind, look at the key and see, well, did I do it right? Did I understand it? Same thing for the homework. So double check the keys to see if you understand the answers and had the right approach for the homeworks and the labs. So we just talked about the labs. So the labs are actually going to be talking about SPSS, which is a computer program. You don't have to do it directly. Given that we're online, there could be various issues trying to do things directly. So what I've done is I've demonstrated how to run the program to you in the labs, and you're going to describe how to do these things as part of your lab. So there's sort of two parts of the lab. One is the operation of the program, which you don't need to do directly, but you need to tell me how I did it so I can see that you understand how to do it yourself. And then the second part is looking at output. So I'll generate the output from the program, and then you're going to interpret those output. And so what I'll say is that the first lecture is actually already getting into SPSS. You'll see what it looks like. You'll see how it kind of does things. And then the first lab is the first thing that we're going to be doing for an assignment. And so that in some ways demystifies the program. You'll kind of see what we're doing right away. Again, if you look at the key and you're not quite sure about how the answers on the key got to that point, the thinking behind it, come to the Wednesday session and we can talk about it. In terms of exams, we have 4 non-cumulative exams. So we have 4 units throughout the semester. So each unit is going to be an exam. So there's not going to be an overflow on the exam except for a couple major topics, and I'll sort of highlight those. And those will be on the study guides too. So there'll be a study guide for each of the exams provided to you. And each of the exams are a mixture. So we have problems. So problems are the things that you have formula, you have numbers, and you have to do some calculations. You have to interpret those calculations. Those are the problems part of the exam. And then we have the no multiple choice. That slipped out by accident. We have what we call conceptual problems. And so conceptual problems are more about thinking and essay, sort of word type of answers. Those will be pretty easy to distinguish when we have the study guide. It'll be pretty clear, oh, this is something I have to calculate. This is something I have to write about. That's the difference between a problem and conceptual question. And then for each of our exams, we're going to have at least 2 days or more for you to take the exam. So you can take the exam across at least a couple days. And I'm going to split the problem part from the conceptual part, so you can take those on different days if you want. And I think that's useful because you can study in different ways for those things. And so studying for the conceptual part might be a bit different than the problem part. So you can study for the conceptual one day and take it, and then concentrate on the formulas and things like that, and take the problems another day. Also, I think it's very helpful because it splits the exam. So it's not like a big, huge exam. There's 2 smaller exams. Still, they might seem like they're fairly big. It might take you an hour or so to do them. So it's good, though, because it splits it up. So instead of sitting for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours for an exam, you split it up into 2. In general, all the exams are closed book, closed notes, unless otherwise specified. So I think there's just one problem exam on ANOVAs, that's our 3rd unit, where you can use sort of a cheat sheet for formula. Otherwise, everything else is closed book, closed notes. So closed book, closed notes for all the conceptual problems, and for 3 of the 4 problems exams. I'll just sort of highlight is don't cheat. Don't go to the internet and look for things. Don't cheat. In this class, I kind of hate to say, over the last year of doing this online, I think every semester I've caught somebody cheating. And so if you cheat, use an internet resource, then you get a 0 for the whole exam, and that includes both makeup and the original exam. So if it's on the original exam, you cheat, you get a 0 on that exam. So both the problems and conceptual for all 100 points is a 0, and you can't take the makeup. And then if you take the makeup and you cheat on the makeup, you get a 0. So if you got something on the original exam, some points on that, those points go away. So please don't cheat. It's not worth it. If you don't know something, then it's just better just to lose those points, So if let's say it's even a big question, that's 20 points. Those are not common, but let's say there's a 20-point question. It's much better just to say, hey, I'm sorry, I don't know this. Lose to 20 points. If you lose 100 points, that's going to be devastating. So the cumulative exam is actually open book, open notes. So the cumulative exam, final exam, we will have a 1-week prep period. So there'll be a study guide and some practice problems that you can use. And it will be open book, open note, because it's different from the other exams. So my final exam is not going to be doing the same stuff. Why should we do the same stuff? I already gave you 4 tests, so I'm not going to give you the same type of problems. The final exam is to integrate your knowledge. Essentially, you're going to be doing 2 things. You're going to be thinking about what's the right statistic to use. And so we're going to learn different statistics throughout the class. And the final exam is simply given a certain type of research design, what's the right statistic to do? If that sounds weird right now, don't worry. We haven't even gotten to that point. We won't get to that point until probably the 3rd or 4th week of this class. But throughout the class, we'll say, okay, here's when you do this thing. Here's when you do this other thing. That's what the final is. Along with about 30%, 40% of the final is looking at SPSS output and interpreting it. and writing up the findings. This is where your labs come into play. So if you're doing your labs and you're thinking, well, the labs aren't showing up on the exam, so why should I bother with the labs? Well, you're bothering with the labs because the labs come into play here for the final exam. So understanding SPSS output, which is done throughout the semester in the labs. That's what part of the final exam is. Also, the labs are important because in the labs, we're going to be doing write-ups, and you're going to be asked to write up the findings. That's going to mirror stuff from our homework and from our lecture that you're going to be needing for your problems questions in terms of the exam, so for earlier exams. So the labs do address the final exam, but also give you some practice in terms of writing up findings that you need to do throughout the semester in the exams and in your homeworks. So here's a summary of the whole points. So double check your points on Canvas. If there's any sort of mistake, let me know, and let me know early. So if you think that there was a mis-adding somewhere on one of your exam one, don't wait until the final week of the class to tell me. Tell me soon after you find out. But in general, there's not a lot of miscalculations because the computer does it. But do double check your points. If you submitted something and don't have points, let me know what's going on. Make sure that you get the points that you deserve. And then at the end of the semester, this has stopped, I think. It's stopped ever since I put this in the syllabus. So if you are at the end of the semester and you're thinking, oh, the final exam, what do I need to get on the final exam to pass the class? Or what do I need on the final exam to get an A? What do I need to get on the final exam for a B? You can do that on Canvas. You can do a what if. So what if I got this on the final exam? What would be my final percentage, my final grade? So if you are at that point, you want to check the what ifs, click this link and there'll be like a 10-minute video showing you how to do that, maybe 5 minutes. Here's the grading scale. This is set in stone. There's always some arbitrariness to these lines, but these are the lines. So if you fall in that percentage, that's what your grade will be for your final grade. And the nice thing about Canvas is it automatically gives you the percent for all the things that you've done. If you have accommodations, let me know. So when it comes to the exam, if you have extra time, just make sure you talk to me and make sure you get the accommodations that you need. If you have any other accommodations, let me know. In general, being an online class, a lot of those accommodations are already kind of there. It's just the extra time on exams I need to know from you. I already talked about cheating, so don't cheat. So just a couple of big hints about avoiding plagiarism is if you're taking other sources, make sure to put the things in your own words. So if you're looking at other sources to understand something, and you take word for word notes from that source, and you say that on an exam, it could look like you're cheating. So if you are taking notes from other sources, put it in your own words. Also start working early. So I already talked about the importance of working early in this class. And I think probably 90% of the plagiarism that I found in this class was probably due to people panicked. People are doing things at the last minute. They're not understanding things. They get to the exam, they panic. And it's just too tempting that the internet's out there. So 90% of the cases were like that. So don't feel rushed. There was this one case I had where I felt there was a systematic setup to cheat. But a lot of times I feel like it's when people panic. This is what I'm saying too, is if you don't know the thing, just say you don't know. Lose a few points. Don't lose 100 points. 100 points is hard to get over. So basically you should expect about at least 13 hours per week online. So with a 18-week class, we say it's 10 hours per week. So I kind of average that to a 14-week schedule. So, a minimum of 12 to 13 hours per week. So keep that in mind. So this is, I think, one of the things that maybe people do is they wait for the last minute and they think they can do something in a couple hours on Sunday. No, it's not going to happen. You should budget your time. It might be less. So if you understand things quickly, you get through the videos, you watch it through once, you understand it, you do the homework, the labs, you might be able to do stuff within 6 hours if you really understand it, but most people are going to take probably 10, 12, 13 hours at least per week. So given that, work early in the week. Don't wait till the last minute and try to cram it in on Sunday. That will not work well. Oh, by the way, for the exams, so for each of the exams, I forgot two things. So for the non-cumulative exams, the final exam, the first part will be right, not the second part. So for all exams, including the final, we are going to have review sessions. So we'll have a Zoom review session, and those things will be posted on Canvas. It will be announced time, day, and the Zoom link. And what will happen is we'll have a review session right before the exam opens up. So for every exam, we'll have a Zoom session. And then the second thing is, this is not true for the final, but this is true for the non-cumulative exams. We're going to have a makeup exam. We don't have a makeup exam for the final. Why? Because there's not enough time. Everything has to be graded. So the final doesn't have a makeup, but the non-cumulative, the 4 non-cumulatives do. So regardless of your grade, you can take the makeup. So let's say you got 89 on the first try, and that's pretty good. But you somehow wanna, you wanna get an A. So you can take the makeup. It doesn't matter. It's not just for people who didn't do well. It can be for anybody. And the makeups are structured just like the initial ones. So the initial ones will have problems and conceptual problems. The makeups will have problems and conceptual. They'll be separate. So you don't have to take both. So let's say you didn't do well on the problems. You can just take the makeup for the problems. I'll take the highest score of the problems of the two. So you'll get the highest score. So if you get a B, let's say, on the first try, you won't lose that B. That's your worst grade. So it's the highest of the two. In general, what I find is people do well on the makeup exam. Sometimes people do 10 to 20 points better. I think some of that is just kind of getting used to the questions. And also I think part of it is anxiety. So we talked a lot earlier about anxiety. And so if you're anxious and taking the exam, you might not do so well on the exam. So I think some of the improved scores are because people are less anxious on the second try. And we will have the Zoom session, review sessions, also for the makeup exams. So makeup for the 4 non-cumulative, but not for the final exam. So always let me know how things are going. So those Wednesday check-in sessions are especially good to sort of let me know how things are going, to help your learning, to help you succeed in the class. I want you to succeed, so let me know how things are going. So here's the topics and the reading. So this will be reflected in Canvas. So obviously we see these things in Canvas, the frequency distributions, introduction to statistics. So but the first week I want you to do things like reading the syllabus. So if you're watching this video, you're off to a good start. Appendix A of your book has a basic math review. That's very sort of good to review. Basically for this class, you don't need to know a lot of highfalutin math. You'd be fine probably if you know order of operations. So that's the big thing is I find that people have some problems, order of operations. And I've had a couple people who pretty much had to drop the class, and probably that was one of the big things is that they just couldn't understand how to do things in order of the operations. And they probably had to go to another basic math class. But 99.9% of the people that take this class, even though they don't feel like they can do math, you can. But if you're feeling a little bit uncertain, do the basic math review and make sure you understand order of operations. That's probably the most important part. We don't even have big exponents, so we square at most. We don't cube things. We don't take any other exponents. We pretty much square things. That's as much as we do in this class. And then we have each topic for the week. So this week, this schedule is pretty much set. This schedule is pretty good, and you can see that We have makeup exams scheduled the week after the initial exams, and we have some review dates here too. So I'll talk more about this as we go on in the semester. And so you'll see the final week of the class. Actually, it's week 13 officially. We'll have a week for reviewing the course and studying for the final exam. So I'll have some practice problems with that. And the final exam is due Wednesday, May 12th. And that is set in stone. And there's no way around that because that's the last day of the 14-week term. So the final exam is due at that point in time. So I think that's it. I already talked about that. This is in their Canvas module. So I know that was a little bit long for a welcome and an introduction, but I think we addressed some important issues and gave you an overview of the course and how to be successful in the course. So I hope to see you Wednesday in this check-in session. So take care and let me know how I can help you throughout the course. Take care.